I grew up as a camper.
Camp Eagle's vision really fit the vision of our student ministry.
My heart is at Camp Eagle.
The eternal impact.
That was the first time I felt like I really saw the Lord.
Camp Eagle will always be a special place to me because He is there.
The original vision and dream to start Camp Eagle, over 25 years to what that was really just to impact kids where they were and using things like adventure to develop relationships so we could share the truth of God, which is still our mission statement, to inspire Christ-like change through outdoor adventure, authentic relationship, and biblical truth. That was probably the original vision, is just to go, how do we just get kids out into creation and share the hope of Jesus Christ with them?
Hi, my name is Chris McWaters, Rivers Edge Camp Director at Camp Eagle. Our mission statement here at Camp Eagle is to inspire Christ-like change through outdoor adventure, authentic relationships, and biblical truths. Now let's start by taking a look at that outdoor adventure. Competitor Magazine deems Camp Eagle as Texas' premier adventure destination. Most folks think they have to travel to Colorado or further for a setting like this, but we have all you could ever want in a true adventure camp. Other people claim it, but we live it.
Camp Eagle is honestly one of my favorite weeks of the whole year because the same group of people, at one point you're like blobbing each other off the blob, getting to zip down a zip tower and going crazy with them, and then the next hour you're crying with each other and worshiping and praying. So it's just a positive experience where you get to build each other up in a fun way, where you can have fun and laugh and mess with people, but at the same time you're building each other up spiritually and getting to grow in your relationship with Christ and with each other.
Camp Eagle's vision really fit the vision of our student ministry. We've seen life change in our students each year, and one of the big reasons was because we feel it's so disconnected from the everyday world that they're in. We'll get connected with the relationships just in nature, and having environments like this to have those conversations that just get out of the everyday comfort of life.
I worked at Camp Eagle in the summers of 2004, 2005, and 2006. So the early days of Camp Eagle, Jason Knott, who was the Eagle Class director, he made us memorize this phrase: due to the nature of this program, it is imperative that you take care of your feet. I literally now say this to my kids because when I was in college, my director told me I needed to. So I feel like I really grew up at Camp Eagle during those 3 summers. I learned that I could lean on him for strength, for power, and whatever I needed. I got to experience like the technical big rappel and mountain biking and hiking stuff. I learned that nature is just my happy place, and it's because I feel really close to him there. I'm actually the most happy when I'm slightly dirty in Chacos and swimming in a spring-fed river. I was staying in one of the hotel rooms, and I was just watching the campers walk down the path one night, and I just got this vision of just little hearts above all their heads, and that just the sense that God really had a plan for each of them, and He was pursuing each of them so differently and on a different journey, but this was the place where it was going to happen. And so Camp Eagle will always be a special place to me because He is there.
So we talk a lot about the why here at camp, and we want everything to always point back to the greater purpose, and that is the gospel. But I think we all have our own personal whys too, and I know that for me, I was a lost and bitter, very angry teenager, and the wilderness dismantled me in the best way, and it was enough to expose my need for the Lord in such a real way that I couldn't ignore it. God was so big and so powerful and so beautiful. I could not run from Him, and I could not hide. He was there, arms wide open and eyes full of love. And so for me, my hope is that the kids that come out here get to encounter Jesus through the uncomfortable yet absolutely beautiful presence of God. No noise, no internet, sometimes no AC. It's just God. And when a kid comes to realize any aspect of the truth of who God is, they will go home changed forever.
So Redemption Day. Redemption Day, for those of you who don't know, it's October 31st, and a lot of people call that Halloween. We like to call it Redemption Day because that's the day that we found out that God was doing some big things through a few significant donors, and it was in 2007. We had been doing ministry for almost 8 years, but we had a note we were carrying on the property there at Camp Eagle that started at 3.5, but with interest had gone to $4.2 million. And on Redemption Day, these three incredibly generous people, sight unseen, said, we'd like to support what you do, let you continue to do the ministry there, no strings attached, and they each wrote a check for $1.5 million each that allowed us to continue the ministry that we'd been doing there. And then even bigger miracles, they came alongside us and said, how do we help you do more? Which is a whole different story. But Redemption Day was October 31st, 2007, and that's the day that God released us from that debt, and we were able to see things grow from 5,000 campers to 13,000 campers in the next 3 years. It's pretty incredible.
Retreats was going the whole time, and they were doing what they could in the off season to keep the lights on and keep this place going. They started having mountain bike festivals out here. And when they started having the mountain bike festivals, all the parents who would come and race, they wanted to send their kids out here to camp, but they weren't necessarily believers who were a part of a youth group. So that's how Headwaters was born. They would start to send their kids to group camp and be involved in all the worship and things, and they were not necessarily adjusted to that. So at some point they're like, maybe we should have a camp just for them, and thus the individual Headwaters camp was born. Blair and Aaron, I got to know them later, but they were the directors at the beginning and just made a beautiful thing.
Aaron and I were married in April 2008. About a month after we were married, we got a call from Scott Chapman saying, hey, would y'all be interested in being part of a new summer camp at Camp Eagle? We're starting a summer camp for individuals.
The idea just was so exciting to us to come and be a part of the ministry out here and get to impact kids for eternity, really.
In the interview there that summer of 2008, just captivated one by the mission to inspire Christ-like change throughout their adventure, authentic relationships, and biblical truth. We were just captivated by the simplicity, the clarity, and the urgency of a mission like that. We could get behind that. And then to do so in a place as beautiful as this, and then also even being here that summer and getting to see group camp in action and seeing the fruit of it and the summer staff that were bought into it, it was almost surreal to us. Like, we could be a part of something like that. It was almost too good to be true. There's a big TV there, and up here was all just like amphitheater stadium seating and stuff. It's tight and packed in here, but man, it was so fun, you know, and all the skits and everything that doing in here, telling kids about Jesus.
And it was such a learning curve to try to figure out, well, how do you build a camp from the ground up, because they didn't have the Headwaters program yet, and that's what we were brought on to do. And it was so fun to get to learn alongside the team that was here at that time, and to get to learn and see how Anthony and Laura led so well. It's a video that the kids would watch, and then, you know, it's Blair and Biscuit, and they're running through camp and they're doing different activities, and then they would like physically burst onto the scene.
And we would come
and
like
be like
I was getting I remember we were building it and looking up into the rafters, like, how do we get kids up into the rafters? Like, every kid, this is like the kid in me, is like, every kid wants to go up in there, like, has these dreams. And so we were able to re-engineer it to be able to put the catwalk in it, and to have the tube slide out and the rope ladder to get up into it. And then we did the auto belay out, because like, every kid like stands up here and it's like, how cool would it be to jump? Like, I double dare you to jump, you know. And now to be able to like harness them and to be able to do that, and built the barn swing in there. But it was just like, those were the things that made Camp Eagle.
I was a camper for I'm pretty sure it was 5 years. I think the most defining thing when I was here as a camper is that I didn't always remember specifically all my counselors or everything that we even did, but I always remember how they made me feel. And there was one counselor, she was literally one of the best people I've ever met. She's probably the reason that I'm here today, because I was I want to be like that for someone else.
The significance of Christ's sacrifice tends to fade over time, and having to wake up every day and unconditionally love campers that weren't necessarily going to love me back gave me a new perspective, because for the first time I was on the giving end of unconditional love, and it changed the way that I view Christ's sacrifice for me, and I took that home with me. My faith has not been the same since then. So a lot of times the campers teach you more than you're able to teach them.
So 3 years ago, we started sending our kids here to Headwaters, and we love sending our kids to camp. There's just nothing like it to send your children away from their typical routine and technology and home, and just to move them out into God's creation. I can't recreate what a rock climbing experience can do at home. I know that they're deeply loved and cared for. I know these counselors are trained and trained well. I know that the gospel is primary and fun is secondary, but yet the gospel is fun, and so they're getting to see that following Jesus is fun, and being in his creation is like nothing else.
During my senior year, after leaving church, I was struggling a lot with anxiety and depression, and I was just not in a relationship with the Lord. I made a lot of decisions that really took me away from the Lord. I was a really bad party phase in my life, and I came out to camp, and it's our last night, and we went small rappelling, and we completely missed dinner, totally. We were the only ones in the dining hall. When we were walking back from the small rappel, everyone was in worship. And so by the time we got to the dining hall, I remember we were all just kind of eating. We were kind of upset that we had missed worship. And our counselor, Alex, he was like, no, we're still gonna have a worship night. And we went into a little small room in our cafeteria, and we just worshiped. And that was the first time I felt like I really saw the Lord. I knew of Jesus growing up. I heard all the stories of he died on the cross for my sins and all these kinds of things. But I felt in that moment, I felt like I knew him. And it was more than just a book that just kind of told me all these things. And because of Camp Eagle and because of that moment that happened, my relationship with the Lord has changed forever since. And I know I wouldn't be where I am at right now in life if it weren't for that.
25-year anniversary of Camp Eagle. One, I think it's impossible because I can't even be that old. I'm not even 25, let alone that we've been doing ministry for 25 years. But what a privilege to be part of something that God's been doing. Beautiful Texas Hill Country, and once again, mostly just to be able to inspire Christ-like change through outdoor adventure, authentic relationship, and biblical truth for 2.5 decades. Man, what a privilege to have been any part of that.